Ahoy bitches and bros and non-binary hoes, welcome back to Robby Reviews, and today we're going to be reviewing Dexter Original Sin. I'm a gigantic fan of Dexter. It's probably in my top 5 shows ever. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't really that excited to watch this. It just didn't really, It just didn't really pique my interest too much. I didn't think it was a great idea because we get pretty much all of his backstory in the original show. So I was really thinking, what could they possibly show? And honestly, the trailers kind of look like they just didn't look that great. I wasn't really sold. But my God, I was wrong, way wrong. This show slaps. It gave me what New Blood couldn't. It gave me that original feeling I had with the show. I was very, very much wrong. The biggest thing that hinged on the show being good was Patrick Gibson as Dexter. And to be honest, I didn't really see it at first, but by the end of the show, yeah, this man is a perfect young Dexter. I really was so surprised by his performance. It came to a certain point where it also really helps that Michael C. Hall is his inner voice. So it really came to a point where Michael C. Hall was talking, and I was like, wow, this is Dexter. This is him. It came to that point. And I love how Patrick makes it his own character. He's not trying to do a carbon copy of Michael C. Hall. You can tell it is him, but he doesn't have every one of his mannerisms. And that makes sense because he is young. He's in his early 20s. He's about around my age. So it makes sense that he doesn't have it all figured out yet. And I love that. It's a fun way to show that he doesn't have it all figured out yet. He's not complete yet. A good example is that he's still very, very socially awkward. He doesn't have that part of his life figured out yet. He doesn't know how to blend in quite yet. And he has moments where he blends in good, and he has moments where he blends in bad. The prime example is that scene where he brings a bunch of fruit to the cops. Because in the original show, he brings donuts all the time and they all love him. But at first he brings in fruits. Despite it being a healthier choice, it's an off-putting choice, and it makes him weird. So I love that we see scenes of him figuring out how to blend in. They do a great job with that. And a great job with him, making those slides his trophy, figuring out where to dump bodies, figuring out how to properly kill people, because there's some fuck-ups along in this show. And I love that. They did a great job of making it fun to show all these ways he figured this stuff out, along with his family and his friends, all that. It was so good. Patrick Gibson did a really wonderful job. The show really he was the anchor of the show, and if he fell apart, I think the show would have fell apart, but no, he did a great job, and too. They're all very acceptable versions of these characters. I can completely buy them. I think the guy who played Batista did a great job. Deb was a great job. She was insufferable, but I think she needed to be because she's a very rebellious teen in this. And it's kind of funny they gave her the rebel turn into cop trope that I've noticed a lot. I've seen it in Avatar with Korra, and they just did it recently with the Wizards of Waverly Place. Oddly enough, it's starting to become a weird trope. But anyway, I thought she was great. She was a totally acceptable version of Deb. Also, LaGuerta was great as well. I could totally buy that this is LaGuerta. And it was really fun to see her be a good cop, because in the show, besides in season 7, you don't really get to see her be a cop. She just uses her political power mostly. And the actor that played Masuka was great. It helps that if you guys watch this guy's TikTok, this guy is basically Masuka in real life. So it adds to that, and I thought it was fun for the little screen time he had. There are also some new characters they introduced, like Patrick Dempsey as the basically lead of the Miami Metro at this time. Spencer, I thought he was great. I really love what they did with this character. He was fantastic. However, I will say there are some characters that I feel like were not that great. One was really disappointing to me was Sarah Michelle Gellar. I was you get Buffy on the show. I'm expecting her to be more of a lead, but she just was not in it that much. She just didn't play a role at all. She's basically Dexter's boss, but she's not in it that much, sadly enough. And that's just such a shame because she's so great in it. And the little screen time she has, she's great. And the one that I have a really strong opinion about is Christian Slater as Harry Morgan. Uh, yeah, this one did not work for me. I have a really hard time buying that this is the guy that created Dexter. Not to say that his performance is bad, it's definitely good, but I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot missing. Like I just cannot buy. I think that my problem is he's too nice and accepting. Because we see in the show that Harry tried to get it out of him, but once he realized it was there, he just let it go, but he also had a problem with it. I think he's just too like nice, I guess. I don't know. It just doesn't really feel like the same character. And it's a shame because Christian Slater is a great actor. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, but I just cannot buy that this is the same guy that we see in Dexter's visions and flashbacks. I just cannot buy it for some reason. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know. He just did not work for me. He worked for me in the flashbacks. I thought he did great there. But when he's, older Harry, when he's not the young detective, I just don't think it works for me. I think something is missing from his character. Yeah, one of the things I really liked about this show is that it quite literally feels like an early season of Dexter. It really does. And I'm so glad they went back to that because one of my complaints with New Blood was just how lifeless the directing felt. It just really felt like it could be any other show. But I'm glad they went back to the Dexter style. It really feels like an early season of the show. I thought they did great with that. It has the sauce, if you know what I mean. It just has the sauce. It's shot with so much fucking finesse. It looks so good, man. I really love that they went back to the original style because it really works so well. And I get what they're trying to do with New Blood, where it's trying to reflect how he feels in the moment. But there's better ways you could do it. It just didn't feel very good. I also will say the story actually kind of surprised me. There's a lot of twists I did not expect to see at all with like certain characters. It really surprised. I didn't expect to see certain characters in this show, and they handled them beautifully. I won't say too much, but I will say about one. So there's gonna be a spoiler here for like a minute, so bear with me. One change that they did make was to make Harry have another kid before Dexter, and it turns out that this kid drowned in a swimming pool by accident. And I thought this was a great choice. This makes it much more interesting because it makes you understand why Harry would want to keep a kid like Dexter this whole time and like fix him no matter what, because he'd grown to be attached to him. And since he lost that son, he doesn't want to lose another one now, so he's willing to do anything to make sure that Dexter stays safe. It adds so much recontextualization to this character. And I thought that was a great choice. It was a really surprising choice at first, but now it like makes me understand why he would keep him around, since he could just send him away. Like he sees he has all these problems, but like why does he keep him? But no. He just grew attached to him at a young age, and now that he feels that it's his son, he wants to do everything in his power to keep him safe. And I thought that was a really great writing choice there. It adds so much to the character of Harry. Okay, no more spoilers. The last really positive thing I have to say is I love how funny the show is again. New Blood didn't really have a lot of humor, so it's nice to see the humor is back. And the humor takes form in the form of awkwardness, Dexter being awkward, of course. And it's very funny here, and they do have a lot of great opportunities with how young and naive Dexter is, so it's pretty funny. But yeah, other than that, the only really negative things I have to say is there's a subplot about exploring Harry and Dexter's biological mother, and they use this ugly ass piss filter to show it's a flashback. It's like, why? I'm so over the piss filter. They use it in flashbacks in other countries to make it seem polluted. It's like, what are we doing? It's 2024. The 70s didn't look like that. Mexico, Iran, and all these Middle Eastern countries don't look like that. It's fucking stupid. Also, this is really a trope and trend I've noticed in, let's just say, like the Netflix era of things, where to show that a certain show is set in like the 80s or 90s, they will overfuck the play. They will over fucking play 90s or 80s music, and this show does that to death. It's like, I get it. We're in the 90s. You don't need to play a popular 90s song every 2 seconds. As much as I love Stranger Things, I feel like this is the cause of it, or like any show or movie that is set in the 80s or 90s has to have a bunch of licensed 80s and 90s music. I think that's such a lazy way to show it takes place there. There's other ways you can do it. It's just such a lame, fucking pathetic way. Like, let's take like The Sopranos for example. It's set in like the 2000s, but it doesn't blast like 2000s music every single time a scene transitions. You know, it has different ways of showing you it, like showing you the vibe, the locations, or maybe a character pulls out like a phone. I just wish it was more subtle in showing us that it's set in the 90s instead of, hey, here's the song Creep, here's the song Man in a Box to show you that it's in the 90s. I do like that scene, by the way, but it's the first song that came in my head. Anyway, I just think it's a kind of annoying. But yeah, other than that, I am pleasantly surprised by Dexter Original Sin, and if anything, it made me more excited for Dexter Resurrection. So yeah, I'm very excited. I'm gonna give this an 8.5 out of 10. It's honestly up there with some of Dexter's best seasons, and I think it's better than a lot of the later ones. I definitely think it's better than New Blood. I was pleasantly surprised, guys. This show is actually very good. I was very looking forward to it every week. Yeah, the show fucking slapped. So yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later.